"Serve me in English and I'll pay you $1,000, laughed the millionaire. Until she spoke 5 languages, the restaurant buzzed with the usual dinner crowd, soft music, clinking glasses, and murmurs of conversation. Among them sat Daniel Cross, a self-made millionaire known for his arrogance as much as his success. He leaned back in his chair, tapping his gold watch impatiently, his eyes fixed on the young waitress approaching his table. Her name was Elena, a quiet, graceful woman in her mid-20s with tired eyes that carried more story than she ever spoke. She balanced a tray of glasses as she moved from table to table, offering polite smiles to guests who barely noticed her. When Elena reached Daniel's table, he smirked, spinning his wine glass between his fingers. "You're new here, aren't you?" he asked. "Yes, sir," she replied softly. "What would you like to order?" Daniel chuckled, his tone condescending. "Tell you what," he said, loud enough for his 2 business friends to hear. "If you can serve me perfectly in English for the rest of this meal, I'll give you $1,000. His friends laughed. Elena froze for a second, confused but calm. She had heard many rude remarks during her shifts, but this one stung differently. She took a breath and said with composure, "Sir, I can serve you in English, or Spanish, French, Italian, German, or Japanese. Which would you prefer?" The laughter at the table stopped. Daniel blinked. "What did you just say?" he asked, his confident tone slipping. Elena repeated, this time switching gracefully between languages. "Would you like your steak medium rare?" she asked in French. "Or do you prefer something lighter tonight?" She continued in Spanish. "I can also recommend our special in Italian. It's molto buono." The millionaire's jaw tightened as his friends stared in shock. One of them muttered, "She's fluent in all of them." Elena smiled faintly. "Languages are like keys, sir," she said softly. "They open doors people often don't see." Daniel felt a strange heaviness in his chest. He had meant to embarrass her, but now he was the one who felt small. He cleared his throat and looked down at the menu to hide his discomfort. Medium rare, please," he murmured. For the rest of the meal, silence replaced the earlier laughter. Elena served them with quiet dignity, speaking in perfect English, her movements graceful and efficient. When the bill arrived, Daniel reached into his wallet and pulled out a thick stack of cash. "Here," he said quietly, handing her not $1,000 but $5,000. Elena looked surprised. "Sir, I can't accept this." He shook his head. "You can. You just taught me something money can't buy." That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. The image of the young waitress haunted him. He thought about how easily he had judged her, how quickly he assumed her worth was measured by her job or her accent. For the first time in years, he felt ashamed, not for being rich, but for being small-minded. The next day, he returned to the restaurant. Elena wasn't there. He asked the manager about her and learned she worked double shifts to pay for her younger brother's university education. Daniel left his card and a note that simply said, "Come see me. I have an opportunity for you." A week later, Elena hesitated outside the tall glass building with "Cross International" engraved on its doors. She didn't want charity, but curiosity and hope brought her there. When she entered Daniel's office, he stood up immediately. "I'm glad you came," he said sincerely. "I was arrogant. You don't owe me anything, but I'd like to offer you a position. My company is expanding overseas. We need someone who understands people and cultures, not just profits. I think that's you." Elena stared at him in disbelief. "You'd hire me?" Daniel smiled. "I'd be lucky to have you." Tears welled in her eyes. For the first time in years, someone saw her not as a waitress, not as a struggling immigrant, but as someone valuable. Months passed. Under Elena's guidance, the company flourished in new markets. Daniel learned to treat people differently, his arrogance replaced by humility. He often found himself turning to Elena not just for business advice, but for perspective. One evening, as they prepared for an international conference, Daniel turned to her and said, "You know, the night we met, I thought I was testing you. But you were testing me. Elena laughed softly. No, sir. Life was testing you. I just spoke the language. They both smiled. The once proud millionaire who thought success was built on dominance had finally learned that true intelligence wasn't just knowing how to make money, it was knowing how to respect people, and the woman who once served tables in silence now stood before leaders and executives, speaking 5 languages fluently, representing the company she once could only dream of entering. As the conference began, Daniel watched Elena take the stage. For the first time in a long while, he felt proud, not of his wealth, but of his growth, and when Elena began her opening speech, her voice strong and confident, Daniel whispered to himself, "You were worth more than $1,000 from the very start." Moral message: never judge someone by their job, accent, or appearance. Every person carries a story, a talent, and a depth that money can't measure. True wealth lies not in what you own, but in what you learn when you choose humility over pride.